They say that disappointment is the mismatch between expectations and reality. This is true both in our personal lives and in our business lives. This year, I had the worst, most unpleasant client experience of my 15-year editorial career. And what made that experience most interesting is that this worst client was not a scammer, was not a liar, was not a bad person seeking to extract something from me. This was a person who genuinely didn't understand the difference between an editor and a coach. And boy, did we both have a very unpleasant 2 months of back and forth because of it, in an effort to spare you fine writers who, like this person, are good people. The type of expectations mismatch that she suffered from. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what went wrong with this client, how we resolved it, and exactly what you can expect when you sign up for a developmental edit of your fictional work. Let's get started. Hello, shameless writers. I'm Kristen McTiernan, the nonsense free editor, here for your regular dose of writing wisdom. For this week, we're going to be talking about the experience that you can expect when you get a developmental edit for your novel. Now, in my previous videos, I have talked quite a bit about what kind of genres need what kind of editing. If you are a nonfiction author, for instance, you absolutely do not need a developmental edit unless it's a memoir, because memoirs are structured like novels. But any kind of a self help or other kind of generalized nonfiction, you don't need a developmental edit. People with a plot arc and people with a character arc do. The major reason that you all need one is because when we have software like Pro Writing Aid and Grammarly, these help us polish our word choice, our individual sentences, and basically they help us not make embarrassing mistakes with our grammar and with our punctuation. They're helpful tools. And that's why when I get a lot of novels, even from first time novelists, their sentences are usually spot on because they've used these tools. But these tools do not help you with plot arcs, with how realistic your story is, and they certainly don't help you with realistic and relatable characters. Only I can do that. Well, not me specifically, but an editor. I have the screen door open, and so my dog is barking at every little noise. Sorry. Each editor is unique in the services that they offer. But for my specific developmental edit, I include line editing within the service, which means that I make changes for grammar, punctuation, spelling, and phrasing and clarity of phrasing directly to your document. But then the developmental aspect of that is me critiquing the overall story, giving you suggestions. And the tagline that I use, and the one that got me in trouble with this particular client, is that I will tell you what's wrong with your story and I will tell you how to fix it. Now, for most authors, what I provide is more than enough. It's like, okay, well, this character seems really flat, or this character has a hockey stick progression instead of an arc. I think you should insert a scene that accomplishes XYZ somewhere around the midpoint of the book. I don't tell you what that scene should be. I do not tell you who should say what. Short way to say that is it's your story, not mine. I'm not going to micromanage or dictate exactly how you should tell it. I'm just going to give you broad, overarching suggestions for what would rectify the problems that I have pointed out. Most authors, even brand new ones on their first book, would be horrified, would be furious, might even leave me a bad review if I had the absolute audacity to go in there and leave bullet points of exactly what they needed to add into their manuscript. Because who do I think I am? It's not my book. I'm just telling you what's wrong with it. This particular client took the opposite tack. Now, I did mention in the introduction, and I want to say it again, this client was not trying to cheat me. This client was not a bad person or a scammer. This person was, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but she was very young. And young people haven't really been given the freedom that people of my generation and of older generations were given to kind of do their own thing. Zoomers, boy, they're just not allowed free time, are they? Or free reign, or the ability to do anything without some adult bending over them with a checklist. So I kind of understand where she's coming from. And frankly, she's one of the younger people that I've worked with, very young. The problem was when she got her manuscript back and I had made my line edits, her sentences were beautiful and she didn't even use pro writing aid. She knew how to write, glorious, but it was just those large things that needed a lot of work. A lot of it wasn't realistic. A lot of it didn't make sense. Like, why did this character come to this conclusion? There is no reason why they would have reasonably thought that, especially since the kids in the book were so smart. And in this case, there was a whole character who just needed to go. Why is he here? Like, you have not explained that to me. He doesn't belong here. So, in addition to the marked up manuscript, like I always do, I included a write up. And it was about 2.5 pages saying, here's what I thought of your plot. And here are the generalities of what you need to do to fix the problems that I identified. Here are the generalities of the characters and what I thought of them. The villain's motivation was a huge gaping hole. It was a problem and it kind of ruined the whole ending of the book. And so I pointed that out and made a suggestion for how that they might rectify this. She asked for a refund. Now, this is through Fiverr, which means that if I want to get paid, I have to make her happy. That's it. That's all. This is not my own client where I can outline, look, this is what I agreed to do, and I'm not giving you a refund. With Fiverr, if they don't accept your job, you don't get paid. So that's fun. For starters, she was very angry that she didn't get a 10 to 20 page write up. She says that she read somewhere that that was normal. Ma'am, if I ever send you 20 pages of write up, just throw it in the trash. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm being sincere. If I ever send you a 20-page write up about a novel, throw it in the garbage and find something else to do with your life. Whoa. So the fact that she would want that was very odd. And I'm wondering who she got that advice from. The second one, she did point out to me my particular sales copy, which is I will take good books and make them great ones. The premise, of course, being you have to give me a good book in the first place, but I digress. Then she said, look, you said you'd tell me how to fix this. Tell me how to fix it. And I was very confused. Well, at first I was angry because I thought, in Fiverr, you deal with people who are genuinely trying to scam you. I assumed that she was doing that. She was trying to get free ghostwriting. I immediately assumed that. So I said, no, I'm sorry. I'm not rewriting scenes for you. I am not adding new scenes for you. That's your job as the writer. To which she replied, no, I don't want that. I just want you to tell me what should go in the scene that you want me to insert. So, in this scene where I told you that you need to have it from the villain's point of view, you want me to tell you what should be in that scene? Yes. But you don't want me to write it for you myself? Yes. Okay. So basically, what she was wanting me to do was coach her through the rewrite, which is not a service that I offer through Fiverr. And honestly, even, in my own clientele, I'm winding down coaching. I'm not really finding it to be a good use of my energy. We'll just say that. So it was hard. We had to go back and forth, and she did not respond to messages in a timely fashion, which kind of increased my stress levels because it's like, is this version good enough for her? Who knows? Let's wait 2.5 days to find out. It was very, very stressful. But ultimately, after much back and forth, after multiple pages of write ups, after bulleted lists that went on forever of exactly what should be in the scene that she wanted and which she rejected, and then I had to do another one. Oh my God. Um, and a 2-hour call where we went through the whole manuscript. It was so stressful, you guys. But finally, she was happy. She accepted the job, and she didn't write a review. That's okay. That is preferable because she didn't obviously feel like she could give me a good one, so she chose not to write one. I respect that choice. The problem is not that she was trying to get something from nothing. After speaking with her and going back and forth with her, I refuse to believe. I don't think she was trying to steal from me or get one over on me. There was just a genuine mismatch of expectations. To avoid this type of mismatch of expectation, if and when you decide to hire a developmental editor, I want to go through what you can generally expect from a developmental edit. Well, like I say, different developmental editors have different services they offer. There are many who just do the analysis of your plot, character, how well it hangs together, and kind of give you suggestions on how to fix. Some of them don't go through your actual manuscript making corrections to the text the way I do. Most editors will be very clear about exactly what their developmental edit will include. But a good rule of thumb, no matter which editor you're working with, is that your editor will not add original text to your manuscript ever. They might rephrase a sentence. Actually, that's pretty common because it's like, okay, I understand what you're trying to say, but boy, is that sentence clunky. Let me fix it for you. That's not adding new text. That's not ghostwriting. It's just polishing what's already there. And that is a reasonable expectation for your developmental editor. Another thing that they generally will not do is insert their own particular plot ideas directly into your manuscript. Most developmental editors understand that an author's work is like their baby because most of us are authors ourselves. And so, if we have ideas for how to fix something that just doesn't really feel like it's working, we will do one of two things. We will use the commenting function on whatever word processor you're using. So, out in the margin, you'll see this big long comment saying, okay, this isn't working. Let's try this instead. You don't have to do it if you don't like it. That's why they're suggestions. Your editor is there to help you, not to insert their own will in place of yours. The other thing that they might do, and this is generally what I prefer to do, is to have a second document where you assess the manuscript on its merits, say what's wrong with it, say what's right with it. That's very important. In that same secondary document, not your primary manuscript, if there are changes that I think need to be made to the overarching structure of your novel, I will put that in there. I think you need to delete this character and distribute their dialogue to other characters. I think your cast is too big as a whole. And maybe you should delete more than just this character. But I'm not going to tell you which one because I don't know who you have plans for the sequel, because there's always a sequel. No one writes a one off anymore. It's especially true when I suggest making big changes for characters because oddly enough, people get really attached to their characters. So if I want to take a stand and say, no, your heroine should not have ended up with this dude. She should have ended up with this other dude. I feel like authors would take that very personally, but I wouldn't be a good editor if I didn't tell you that it didn't feel like something was working. Very often, particularly in romances with love triangles, I will give several options. If something doesn't work, I'll say, okay, well, maybe this would work instead. Or if not that, you can just cut out this line of dialogue and that would kind of, remove the inconsistency. Very often, they will take the second one with less large scale changes. Understandably, because when you're done with your manuscript, no one wants to do rewrites. Additionally, generally speaking, any kind of editor is not going to be doing frequent check ins with you during the editing process. You're going to pay up front, you're going to give them your manuscript, and then they're going to give you a due date or an estimated due date. You're not really going to hear from them in between the time you submit and the time you get it back. Now, this does make authors nervous sometimes, and sometimes they check in, hey, how's everything going? Which is totally fine. But it would be a mismatch of expectations if you're expecting, for instance, regular calls with your editor. Oh, how did you like chapter one? How did you like chapter seven? That really doesn't come with the package when we're talking about developmental editing. It does come with coaching. So, as you come to the end of your manuscript, you're wrapping up, you're pretty sure you're finished. Before you consider hiring anybody, you need to ask yourself exactly what you're looking for. Are you looking forward to somebody polishing your manuscript? Somebody that will take your manuscript and, without any further input from you, make it better and give you suggestions if those suggestions are warranted? If yes, an editor is definitely for you. If you come to the end of your manuscript and you still feel uneasy with it, you don't know that this is the book that you want to put out there to the world, then you might want to instead look for a coach if you are looking to be coached. If you want someone to help you improve your writing craft and your ability to create a scene so that you can better tell the story that you want to tell, a coach is for you. Alternatively, if you're not really looking for instruction, if you're not looking for major rewrites, but you really just want to bounce your story off of one or maybe several people, then a critique group or even a beta reading group is probably where you want to go. So you can get feedback for your story, offer your own feedback of their stories in return, and kind of have that sense of community and be with your writer people, I guess we can call them, and feel a little bit better about moving forward with your manuscript. Because we all have that moment when the manuscript is done where we think maybe this is the worst thing we've ever written and should throw it in the trash. 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. I mean that sincerely. I have edited some train wrecks in my career. I've talked about them. They're bad, but they're also kind of rare. Usually people just need some tweaking, and that's what editors are there for. So that's all I have for this week. I am delighted to announce that I have finally finished my short story, Beyond the Veil, which is a prequel to the Black Magic series, and it is available for free in its entirety on my Substack newsletter. So if you're interested in reading that, you can subscribe to my Substack below, or it's also available on Amazon if you're more of an ebook person. So until next week, take care and write well.